Rian lived a quiet life on a small human colony far away from Earth. The colony was called New Dawn, a green and peaceful planet with two suns that painted the sky gold in the morning and silver at night. Most people in New Dawn were farmers, miners, or engineers. Rian worked as a maintenance technician, fixing broken machines and old solar grids that powered the colony's farms. He liked his work because it kept him busy and far from trouble. Rian was not a man of adventure. He liked simple things. He liked the smell of metal after rain, the sound of engines humming in harmony, and the peace that came after a long day of work. Every evening after his shift, he would sit outside his small metal cabin and watch the stars. The colony was surrounded by wide-open fields, so the night sky looked endless. Sometimes he wondered how many worlds existed beyond those stars, if any of them had someone looking back at him. That night started like any other. The air was calm and clear. The two moons hung high above the horizon. Rian finished repairing an irrigation drone and walked back to his cabin. The radio played a soft melody from the main settlement, and the air smelled of fresh crops. He made a small meal, ate quietly, and looked at the stars through his window. Then he saw it. A bright light moved across the sky. It was not like the slow glide of a satellite or the fast streak of a meteor. It was too controlled, too steady. The light pulsed once, then again, like a heartbeat. It changed color from blue to white, then to gold. Rian frowned. He had seen transport ships before, but nothing like this. The light grew larger and brighter until it filled the sky above his cabin. The ground began to tremble. His tools rattled on the table. The cabin lights flickered. For a moment, he thought it was an earthquake, but there were no tectonic plates near this region. The radio went silent. Then, a high tone filled the air, sharp but strangely calm. Rian felt pressure in his chest, as if something was pulling him upward. He rushed outside. The night had turned bright as day. The source of the light was now directly above him, a vast circular shape floating silently in the air. It was smooth and silver, like liquid metal. The edges shimmered with blue energy. He could not see any engines, but the air around it vibrated. His mind told him to run, but his legs would not move. He stood, frozen, staring at the thing that hung above him like a silent moon. Then everything went white. When Rian opened his eyes, he was no longer in his cabin. He was lying on a smooth white surface that felt warm beneath his skin. The air smelled clean and faintly sweet. He tried to sit up, but the world around him shifted. The walls moved like liquid glass, changing shape as soft light flowed across them. His heart pounded. He looked for his tools, for his bed, for anything familiar, but nothing was the same. He was inside a large circular hall. The ceiling shimmered with faint constellations that slowly rotated like a planetarium. Around him stood tall figures draped in silver robes. Their skin had a soft glow, like moonlight, and their eyes were bright as gems. They looked human in shape, but moved with a grace that seemed unreal. One of them stepped forward and spoke in a language Rian had never heard, yet somehow he understood it. "Welcome, traveler, from the blue world. Do not be afraid. You are safe in the house of the Empress." Rian blinked. "Where am I? Who are you? What happened to me?" The figure smiled gently. "You have been brought to Lumerus, the heart of our empire. You are chosen by the Empress herself." Rian shook his head. "Chosen? I think there's a mistake. I was in my cabin on New Dawn. I'm just a technician." The tall being placed a hand over its chest, a gesture of respect. "Our Empress does not make mistakes. She has dreamed of the one who would come from the stars to restore our world. The stars guided us to you." Rian stood slowly, his legs still weak. "Restore your world? I don't understand. I'm not a leader or a scientist. I just fix machines." "Then you understand more than you think," said the being. "Machines are life to us. Harmony is life. You are not here by chance." Before Rian could respond, the walls rippled open. A soft path of light appeared, leading toward a large gate. The figures bowed and gestured for him to follow. Unsure what else to do, he walked along the glowing path. As he moved, The walls changed color from white to deep blue, like the sky before dawn. He felt calm, but also uncertain, like a man walking in a dream. The gate opened into a grand hall that took his breath away. The floor was made of clear crystal, and beneath it flowed rivers of light that looked like molten stars. Above him hung a sphere of pure energy, floating in midair, casting gentle warmth through the room. At the far end stood a throne made of intertwined silver vines, and on that throne sat a figure unlike any he had ever seen, the Empress of Lumeris. She was tall and graceful, her skin pale like ivory, her eyes shining with golden light. A faint crown of silver light hovered above her head. Her robe moved as if alive, shifting between colors of dawn and dusk. When she spoke, her voice was soft, but carried through the air like music. "You have awakened. Traveler from the blue world, do you know why you are here?" Rian bowed his head, unsure if he was supposed to. "No, I don't. I was on my planet. Then there was a light, and now I'm here." The Empress stood and stepped closer. The light around her dimmed slightly, as if respecting her presence. "Our world is dying," she said. "The heart of Lumeris, the great energy core that gives life to our empire, is fading. It was built on harmony between mind and spirit, but we have grown cold and logical. We forgot the warmth of emotion that once kept the core alive. I sought guidance in the ancient way of dreaming, and in my vision I saw you." Rian looked confused. "Me? But I'm just human. I don't know anything about energy cores or empires," she smiled softly. "You underestimate yourself. Your kind holds what we have lost. Passion will hope. You live by instinct, yet you build with reason. You fight despair by believing in tomorrow. That is what our world needs." He did not know what to say. Her words sounded like a prophecy, and he was no hero. He was a man who fixed solar lines and oil pumps. But there was something in her eyes that felt sincere. She believed every word she spoke. "Why me?" he asked again. "Because when I reached across the stars, your spirit answered. You did not see me, but your dream touched mine. That connection chose you." Rian tried to remember his dreams, but all he recalled was a strange warmth that had come to him the night before. It had felt comforting. It's like a voice whispering that he was not alone. The Empress gestured toward the sphere of energy floating above the throne. "This is the heart of Lumeris. It binds every life in our empire. When our harmony weakens, it dims. When our hearts unite, it shines. Your presence made it brighter when you arrived. The harmony recognized you." Rian stared at the glowing sphere. The light pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. He felt a faint rhythm in his chest matching its beat. It was strange, yet peaceful. "What do you want me to do?" he asked quietly. "For now," said the Empress, "you must rest and learn. The Council will test your mind and spirit. They will see if the harmony accepts you fully. If it does, you will help restore what was lost." He asked. The Empress looked at him kindly. "Then you will return home, and we will thank you for answering the call. No harm will come to you." Her words were gentle, but Rian sensed something deeper beneath them. The fate of this world rested on something far greater than his choice. He nodded slowly. "All right, I'll do what I can." The Empress smiled faintly. "You have already done much by standing here. The universe rarely chooses without reason. You may feel small, but within you lies the balance that our world has forgotten." The tall figures guided him away from the hall, through corridors made of light. They led him to a chamber with a clear window overlooking the city. Outside, Rian saw towers that stretched into the clouds, bridges made of floating stone, and rivers of light flowing between them. Flying craft moved silently through the air. The entire city glowed softly, as if built from starlight. Rian stood by the window, watching the alien world that now surrounded him. It was beautiful and strange. He felt both awe and fear. Somewhere out there was his home, his small cabin, his tools lying on the table. Now he was part of something far larger, something he did not understand. He lay on the soft bed that awaited him, staring at the ceiling that shimmered like water. He thought of the Empress's words, of harmony, of the glowing heart of her world. Maybe there was a reason he was brought here. Maybe his simple human life had a meaning he had never seen. As his eyes grew heavy, he whispered to himself, "Let's see where this takes me." And for the first time in his life, Rian did not dream of stars. He dreamed of light that reached out to him, calm and warm, calling his name through the endless sky. When Rian opened his eyes the next morning, soft blue light filled his room. The bed was smooth and warm like silk. A gentle hum vibrated through the air, coming from the walls themselves. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then the memories of the night before returned the bright light. The silver hall, the tall beings, and the Empress with eyes like starlight. He sat up slowly. The clothes he had worn from the colony were gone. In their place was a simple white robe that felt light as air. A soft voice spoke from nowhere, calm and clear. "Good morning, Rian. The council requests your presence in the Hall of Learning." He looked around, searching for the source of the voice, but there was no speaker, no screen. "Who is this?" he asked. "I am the house guide," the voice replied. "I am here to help you move through the city and understand our ways." Rian rubbed his temples. "All right, then please show me the way." A glowing path of light appeared on the floor, leading toward the door. When he stepped onto it, the door slid open without a sound. Outside, a wide corridor stretched forward, its walls made of shining crystal. He followed the path as it curved through the building. Other beings passed by, tall and graceful, their robes glimmering with faint color. They glanced at him curiously, but not unquit. As he walked, the guide's voice continued to speak. "You are in the Palace of Harmony, located at the center of Lumoris Prime. The Empress has ordered that you learn our ways before you begin the trial of harmony. Today, the scholars of the council will meet you." Rian listened carefully. "You keep saying harmony. What does that mean here?" "Harmony," said the guide, "is the balance of thought and spirit. It is the law that holds our world together. Every Lumerian is connected through the great heart, the living core of our empire. When our emotions align with peace and understanding, the heart shines bright and powers our world. When our hearts are divided, its light weakens." Rian nodded slowly. "And your world is losing power because of that." "Yes." "The great heart dims because we have become distant from each other. Logic grew stronger, emotion grew weaker. The Empress believes you can help restore that balance." Rian felt pressure in his chest as he thought about those words. He had never considered himself special. He was a man who fixed things when they broke. Maybe that was all the Empress needed, someone who could fix what others could not. When he reached the end of the corridor, the glowing path faded. A door opened into a wide chamber filled with soft light. Inside were 5 Lemurians sitting in a semicircle around a floating table of light. Each one wore a robe, marked with a different color: gold, blue, green, white, and silver. One of them rose to greet him. "Welcome, Rian of Earth. I am Selen, head scholar of the council. We are honored by your presence." Rian nodded politely. "Thank you. I still don't understand why I'm here, but I'll do my best to learn." Selen smiled. "That is all anyone can do. Please sit." A seat shaped from light appeared beside the table. When Rian sat, it adjusted to his body, firm yet comfortable. The council members studied him with calm expressions. Selen began to speak. "You have come at a time of great trial for our people. The heart of Lumoris, which powers all life and energy here, grows weaker each passing cycle. We have searched across the stars for a being whose presence could resonate with its core. The Empress's vision led us to you." Rian looked thoughtful. "But I don't have any powers. I'm just a man from a small colony." Another counselor, a woman named Marion, spoke gently. "You do not need powers. You carry something within your nature that our kind has lost. We once lived by emotion and reason together, but over centuries, we became cold and logical. Our creations grew, but our hearts grew silent. The Empress believes humans live in harmony with both chaos and compassion. That is why your presence awakened the heart." Rian thought about the glowing sphere he had seen in the throne room. Its soft pulse had matched the rhythm of his own heartbeat. He could still feel that faint connection now. "So what do you want me to do?" he asked. Selen spread his hands. "You must learn about our world. You will study our history, our energy systems, and our way of harmony. When the time comes, you will take the trial. If the heart accepts you, its light will return. And if it doesn't, then you will still be honored among us. The Empress does not force destiny." Rian nodded slowly. "All right, I'll try." The council members looked pleased. Selen touched a panel on the table, and a projection filled the air. It showed the city of Lumerus from above, a grand network of floating towers and glowing bridges. Rivers of energy flowed between them, connecting everything like veins. "This," said Selen, "is our capital. It was built over the heart itself. Long ago, our ancestors discovered a living energy deep beneath the surface. They learned to channel it through emotion and thought combined. The stronger the unity of our people, the brighter the energy. For thousands of years, it never failed. But over time, we began to value control over compassion. The harmony broke, and the heart began to dim." Rand studied the projection. "The flowing rivers of light looked weaker near the edges of the city. So your whole world runs on something that reacts to emotion." "Yes," said Marin. "It is both science and spirit. When our people think with clarity and feel with kindness, the heart grows strong. When fear and pride rise, the light fades. You see now why the Empress seeks balance." Rian leaned back, trying to process it all. "It's strange," he said. "On Earth, we always tried to separate feelings from logic. We thought emotions made people weak." Selen smiled faintly. "And yet your species survived every storm, every war, and still reached the stars. Perhaps emotion was never weakness. Perhaps it was your strength." The discussion continued for hours. Rian listened to stories about ancient times when Lemurians could shape light with their thoughts. He learned how their cities once floated through the skies in perfect balance, powered by collective harmony. But as their hearts grew distant, the cities fell to the ground. The empire began to fade. When the lesson ended, Selen said, "You have listened well. Now you must see with your own eyes. Come, Rian of Earth, the Empress wishes you to see the heart." They led him through a long passageway that sloped downward into the core of the city. The air grew warmer and filled with a faint hum, like the sound of countless voices whispering in unison. At last they entered a wide chamber that glowed with golden light. At its center floated the heart of Lumerus. It was larger than a house, a sphere of pure energy, bright and alive. Streams of light rose from it and flowed into the ceiling above, feeding the entire city. Rian could feel its rhythm again, matching the pulse in his chest. Moran gestured toward it. "This is the life of our world. Do you feel its song?" Rian nodded. "It's like it's breathing, responds to emotion," she explained. "When our people are calm and united, it beats with steady strength. When conflict spreads, it grows weak." As he watched, the sphere dimmed slightly, as if tired. He felt a sudden sadness, as though the world itself were sighing. Selen spoke softly. "Do you understand now why the Empress called you? You bring something the heart remembers. Your human presence strengthens it. You may be the bridge that restores what was lost." Rian placed his hand over his chest. "If that's true, I'll do everything I can." The council members exchanged calm glances. Selen bowed his head. "Then we will prepare you for the trial. The Empress will guide your path." That evening, Rian returned to his room. The sky outside the window glowed with 2 moons. The city shimmered beneath them like a field of silver fire. He sat by the glass and thought about everything he had learned. He was just one man from a small colony, yet here he was in the heart of an alien empire, chosen to help save an entire civilization. He thought about the Empress's calm voice and the light in her eyes. There was kindness there, but also loneliness. A ruler burdened by the fading life of her world. He felt respect for her, maybe even connection. As he sat in silence, a soft chime rang through the air. The voice of the guide spoke again. "The Empress requests your presence at the Garden of Light." Rian stood quickly. "Now, yes. Please follow the path." A glowing line appeared again, leading out of the room. He followed it through corridors filled with soft music and the faint scent of flowers. When he stepped outside, he entered a vast garden that floated high above the city. The air was cool and filled with drifting petals that glowed like fireflies. The Empress stood near a pool of still water, her reflection shining beside the stars. She turned as he approached. "You have seen our world," she said. "What do you think of it?" Rian looked around. "It's beautiful, peaceful, but I can see the sadness beneath it." "Your people seem tired," she nodded slowly. "Yes, they have forgotten how to feel. That is why your presence matters. The heart reacts to you because you carry a spark of something we lost long ago. The spirit of human will." Rian stepped beside her. "I don't know how much I can do, but if my being here helps even a little, I'll stay." The Empress looked at him with quiet gratitude. "You have already helped more than you realize." The heart grew brighter when you spoke to it. The city's light stabilized for the first time in many cycles. "You are our hope now, Rian." He looked at the glowing towers below. "Then I'll do my best not to let you down." The Empress smiled faintly. "The path ahead will not be easy. The trial of harmony will." The morning sun of Lumare's prime rose like a silver flame over the shining towers of the capital. Its twin rays filled the city with soft warmth. The streets glowed as if touched by living light. Rian stood on the balcony of his chamber, feeling the gentle wind on his face. The air carried a faint sound like singing, coming from the great heart beneath the city. He could sense its rhythm in his chest, slow and steady. He knew that today was important. The Empress had told him that the trial of harmony would begin. It was not a battle of strength, but a test of spirit and emotion. The Lemurians believed that true power came from unity between mind and heart. Rian had no idea what kind of test this would be, but he had decided to face it with courage. The voice of the house guide spoke softly. "Good morning, Rian. The Empress requests that you meet her in the Hall of Reflection. The trial will begin soon." Rian nodded and followed the glowing path that appeared on the floor. The corridor was quiet, lined with walls that shimmered like crystal water. He could hear the faint hum of energy moving through them. As he walked, he tried to steady his breathing. He reminded himself that he had faced worse fear before. He had worked on broken reactors and saved lives during power failures. But this felt different. This was not about machines. It was about his heart. The Hall of Reflection was a wide circular room surrounded by mirrors of light. In the center stood the Empress, dressed in flowing robes that changed color with the light. Around her stood members of the council, each holding a glowing staff. When Rian entered, everyone turned toward him. The Empress gave a calm nod. "Rian of Earth," she said, her voice soft yet strong. "You have seen our world and felt the heart's call. Now you must face the trial of harmony. This will show whether your spirit truly aligns with the essence of Lumerus." Rian bowed his head slightly. "I am ready." The Empress gestured to the center of the room. "The trial will not test your body, but your soul. You will face illusions born from your own mind. The heart will show you what you fear most and what you cherish most. To pass, you must remain true to yourself and to harmony." Rian stepped forward. The floor beneath him began to glow. The mirrors around the hall brightened until the whole room was filled with white light. The Empress raised her hand and the air trembled. "Do not be afraid. Whatever you see, remember that you hold the power to choose who you are." Then everything changed. The light vanished, and Rian found himself standing in the middle of his old colony. The smell of metal and soil filled the air. The field stretched as far as he could see. His cabin stood ahead, just as he remembered it. For a moment he felt relief. But then he noticed the sky. It was dark and heavy with smoke. The suns were gone, replaced by a red storm swirling above. He ran toward the cabin. The ground shook beneath his feet. When he opened the door, he saw the machines inside sparking wildly, wires torn and flames spreading across the floor. He heard voices outside calling for help. He rushed out and saw people trapped under fallen metal. The colony's main reactor had exploded and chaos filled the air. Rian's heart pounded. He ran to help, pulling debris aside, dragging people to safety. But every time he turned, more fires appeared. The more he tried to fix, the worse it became. He fell to his knees, exhausted, and shouted into the storm. "I can't fix everything. I'm only one person." A figure appeared in the smoke. It looked like him but older, eyes filled with doubt. "You think you can save others," the figure said, "but you fail them every time. You're weak. You hide from life because you fear losing." Rian stood up. "Maybe I can't fix everything, but I don't stop trying. That's what makes me human," the figure frowned. "Human weakness is not enough for this world." Rian shook his head. "It's not weakness. It's hope. Hope keeps me moving even when I fail." The storm began to calm. The fires dimmed. The older version of him vanished, leaving behind only the quiet hum of the wind. The colony faded, and the world shifted again. Now he stood in a vast city of glass towers. Lemurians walked past him without looking his way. The sky above was gray, and the air felt heavy. He saw the Empress standing at the end of a long bridge that stretched over a glowing chasm. Her face was calm, but her eyes looked sad. "Rian," she said, "you cannot save us. Our world will fall, and you will watch it burn. Leave now and live your life. We will fade as all things do." Rian stepped forward. "No, I won't leave." "You cannot stop what is already dying," she said. "Maybe not," he answered, "but I can still try." The ground shook, and cracks spread across the bridge. The Empress began to fade like mist. Rian ran forward, reaching for her hand, but the space between them stretched wider. He shouted, "I won't give up on you." At that moment, the light returned. The storm stopped. The bridge solidified again. The Empress's image glowed brighter. She smiled gently and said, "Then you understand." The scene disappeared. Rian felt weightless, floating in endless white light. Voices whispered around him, echoes of the Lemurians, the Empress, and even himself. "You fight with heart, not power. You build bridges, not walls. You seek harmony, not control." Then the light faded, and he was back in the Hall of Reflection. The council stood in silence. The Empress looked upon him with calm eyes. "You have faced your fear and your sorrow," she said. "Tell me, Rian, of Earth, what have you learned?" Rian took a deep breath. "I learned that I can't control everything, but I can choose to keep trying. Fear doesn't make me weak. It reminds me what matters. I can't bring peace by force, only by understanding." The Empress nodded slowly. "And that is harmony." The council members raised their staffs. The floor beneath Rian glowed with new light. A soft pulse filled the air, and the sound of the heart echoed through the hall. It was stronger now, brighter, alive. The Empress smiled. "The heart responds to you. You have passed the first stage of the trial." Rian exhaled in relief. "First stage." Selin, the scholar, stepped forward. "Yes, the trial continues beyond mind and spirit. The next test lies in the outer lands, where the heart's energy no longer flows. You must travel there and face the silence of the void. Only then will the harmony be complete." Rian nodded. "When do we leave?" The Emperor stepped closer. "At dawn, you will not go alone. A guardian will guide you." A tall figure entered the hall. It was a Lemurian warrior wearing silver armor that shimmered like water. His eyes glowed faintly blue. He bowed before Rian. "I am Kale, protector of the Empress. I will walk beside you through the silent lands." Rian offered his hand. "Then let's do this together." Kale clasped his hand firmly. Together? That night, Rian could not sleep. He sat by the window, looking at the city's glowing lights. He thought about the illusions he had faced. The fear of failure, the voice of doubt, the sadness of losing what he cared for. They had felt so real. But the Empress's words stayed in his mind. Harmony was not the absence of struggle. It was the courage to face it without losing yourself. He closed his eyes and felt the gentle pulse of the heart far below. For the first time, he felt connected not just to the Empress or her people, but to something larger. The same force that bound the Lemurians together was also inside him. When dawn came, Kale met him at the entrance of the palace. The Empress was there too, waiting in silence. The sky above glowed gold. "The path ahead will be long," she said. "Beyond the city lies the hollow plains, where the energy of the heart does not reach. You must walk through it and bring balance to the broken ground. Only there can the trial be completed." Rian nodded. "I'll do whatever it takes." The Empress stepped closer and touched his shoulder. "Remember, Rian, harmony is not found in power, but in compassion. When you doubt, listen to your heart. It will guide you." He felt warmth spread through him where her hand rested. He bowed slightly. "I won't forget." As he and Kale left the city, the towers faded behind them, replaced by open plains of gray stone. The air grew colder and the sky dimmed. Strange shadows moved in the distance, silent and shifting like smoke. Kale spoke quietly. "These lands were once full of light, but when the harmony broke, darkness grew here. The silence you feel is not just the absence of sound, it is the absence of life." Rian looked around. "We'll bring it back somehow." Kale glanced at him. "You speak with the same hope as the Empress? Maybe that is why she trusts you." They continued walking until the sun dipped below the horizon. The sky turned dark, but the path ahead began to glow faintly under their feet. It was as if the heart's energy still whispered beneath the surface. Waiting to awaken, Rian stopped and placed his hand on the ground. He closed his eyes. He thought about the people of Lumerus, about their quiet faces and the sadness behind their calm eyes. He thought about the Empress and her hope that one human could make a difference. He whispered softly, "You are not alone. I'm here." A soft tremor ran through the ground. The faint glow beneath his hand brightened for a moment, then faded again. Kale looked at him in surprise. "You touched the flow," he said. "The land heard you." Rian stood up slowly. "Then maybe there's still hope." Kale nodded. "We will see." As they set up camp beneath the quiet stars, Rian looked toward the horizon. He could feel that the true test of the trial was still ahead. But he no longer felt afraid. Somewhere deep inside, the light of the heart was calling to him, guiding him toward the place where harmony could be restored. The capital of Lumerus was shining under a bright blue sun. Rian stood on the high balcony of the Crystal Palace, watching the floating cities drift gently through the sky. He had lived among the Lemurians for several months now. The people had begun to trust him. They called him the Earthborn Guardian, and his calm presence had become a sign of balance. Yet peace in the empire was beginning to crack. The Empress had told him that not everyone accepted his role. Some leaders in the council believed a human should not stand beside the Empress. They saw him as an outsider, a weakness. Rian had ignored their whispers before, but lately he could feel the tension in the air. Guards were moving in pairs. Meetings were held in secret chambers. The Empress's advisors spoke in low voices. That morning, the Empress called him to the Grand Hall. Her expression was calm, but her tone carried weight. She said, "The empire is divided. Some do not believe our bond is real. They plan to take the core from the palace and end the link between us. If that happens, the core will fail, and the empire will fall into darkness." Rian stood still. He felt a cold shiver run through his chest. "Who would do this?" he asked. The Empress looked away for a moment before answering. "The High Chancellor. He has gathered followers who believe emotion weakens us. They are calling themselves the Pure Circle. They plan to attack during the convergence ceremony tonight." Rian thought carefully. "Then we must stop them before they start," he said. "Let me help you." The Empress smiled faintly. "You have already helped more than you know. But this battle is not only about strength, it is about trust." Rian nodded. "Then trust me to stand beside you." She looked into his eyes, and for a brief moment there was warmth in her usually calm face. "Very well, Earthborn Guardian. Tonight we face the storm together." When the sun dipped below the horizon, the palace prepared for the convergence ceremony. Lemurians filled the grand plaza, wearing robes that shimmered like glass. In the center of the hall stood the core of Lumerus, a giant sphere of light that pulsed with soft energy. It was the heart of the empire. Rian stood near the Empress, dressed in ceremonial silver armor made by the palace engineers. The air vibrated with energy as the ceremony began. Lumerian choirs sang in deep rhythmic tones. Light beams rose from the floor. connecting the Empress and Rion to the core. But before the final chant could begin, the sound of an explosion echoed through the hall. The floor trembled. The song stopped. Cries filled the air. The large door burst open, and a group of soldiers in black armor stormed in. The Pure Circle had arrived. The High Chancellor stepped forward, his voice cold and sharp. "You bring a human into our sacred bond, and you call it destiny. You have betrayed our people, Empress. The core belongs to the Lemurians alone." The Empress raised her hand. "You do not understand, Chancellor. Without the human spirit, the core cannot survive. Our world will end." The Chancellor sneered. "Then let it end pure." He gave a signal, and his soldiers fired energy bolts toward the platform. Guards rushed in from every side, and chaos filled the hall. Rion grabbed a fallen shield and moved in front of the Empress, blocking a strike that would have hit her. He could feel the heat of the blast on his arm, but he did not step back. He shouted to the guards, "Protect the core. Do not let them reach it." The Empress began to chant softly, her voice merging with the hum of the core. Light gathered around her like a shield. Rion knew she was trying to stabilize the energy, but she could not fight and protect the core at the same time. He had to hold the attackers back. Rion looked around and saw the palace drones floating above. He had trained with the engineers before, learning how to control them for maintenance. He dashed toward a control console at the side wall. A laser hit the stone near him, leaving a glowing scar. He ignored it, his fingers flying across the holographic panel. Within seconds, the drones came alive, forming a glowing barrier between the core and the attackers. The Lumerian guards rallied behind him. The drones fired stun beams and energy nets. Pushing the rebels back, the High Chancellor shouted in anger, "You dare use our own machines against us?" Rion answered calmly, "They are not your machines anymore. They belong to the people." The Chancellor charged forward, holding a staff that glowed with red light. Rion met him halfway. The two clashed in the center of the hall. The staff struck his shield again and again, each impact shaking his arm. The Chancellor was faster, but Rion's mind was sharp. He studied his opponent's rhythm, waiting for an opening. When the Chancellor raised his staff for a heavy strike, Rion sidestepped and used the energy shield to redirect the blow. The force sent the staff flying from the Chancellor's hand. Rion grabbed it midair and slammed its end into the floor. Breaking the energy circuit, the red light faded from the weapon. The Chancellor fell to his knees. His eyes filled with disbelief. "You are not one of us. How did you defeat me?" Rion took a deep breath. "Because you fight with anger? I fight to protect." Before the Chancellor could respond, the floor began to shake again. The core flickered wildly. The Empress was still chanting, but her strength was fading. Rion ran to her side. The core's energy was unstable. He placed his hand on the surface of the sphere. Feeling the same pulse he had felt the first day he arrived in Lumerus, he closed his eyes and focused on his memories, his home, his friends, the world he left behind. He thought of every act of kindness, every time he refused to give up. The energy responded, glowing brighter. The core stabilized. The Empress opened her eyes and looked at him in awe. "You are doing it. The bond is complete." A wave of light filled the hall. The rebels dropped their weapons as the core released a wave of calm across the city. The drones powered down gently. The war was over. Hours later, the palace was quiet again. The captured rebels were taken away. The High Chancellor was placed under guard. Rion sat near the balcony, exhausted but alive. The Empress walked toward him, her robes slightly torn from the battle. She looked at him with gratitude. "You risked everything for us," she said softly. "You could have run. You could have left this world behind." Rion looked out over the glowing city. "If I had run, what kind of human would I be? You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. I had to protect that." The Empress nodded slowly. "You have given my people something they had forgotten. Hope. Come, Earthborn Guardian. The dawn is near, and the Empire will wake to a new era." Rion stood beside her. The first rays of morning light spread across the horizon, reflecting off the silver towers. The city was peaceful once more. The Empress spoke again, her voice filled with quiet pride. Today, you are not just the chosen of the core, you are one of us. Rian looked at the rising sun and smiled faintly. Then let's make sure this peace lasts. As the day began, the news spread across the empire. The human had saved the core. The Empress had restored harmony. The people gathered in the streets, chanting words of unity. Even those who had doubted now bowed in respect. Rian and the Empress stood together on the palace balcony, overlooking the endless world of Lumerous. The storm had passed, but both new challenges still waited ahead. Yet for the first time, the Empire and humanity stood side by side, not as strangers, but as allies. And so, in the heart of a shining alien world, a single human proved that courage, compassion, and reason could overcome fear and pride. The rising storm had tested them all, but from its ashes. 8. A new light was born, one that would guide Lumerous for generations to come. The city of Lumerous was quiet in the early hours of the morning. Light from the twin suns spread softly over the floating towers, painting everything in gold and silver. The core of Lumerous pulsed steadily beneath the palace, its energy now strong and balanced. The citizens moved through the streets with calm faces, no longer worried about attacks or failing energy. The Empire had survived its greatest challenge, and hope had returned. Rian stood at the palace balcony, feeling the warm wind brush against his face. He looked out at the city, glowing like a living crystal. His journey had begun with fear and confusion, and now he felt a strange sense of belonging. He had arrived as a stranger from another world, and yet he was becoming part of something greater than himself. The Empress approached silently. Her robes shimmered with soft light that reflected the rising sun. She placed her hand gently on Rian's shoulder. "You have done more than I ever imagined," she said. "The core shines because of your presence. Our people are united because of your courage. And yet, the question remains, Rian of Earth. Will you remain here or return to your home?" Rian looked at her, then at the city below. He remembered the lives he had touched, the people he had saved, and the bond he had formed with the Empress and her people. He thought of New Dawn, his quiet home among the stars, and he realized something important. He could not turn back to his old life as if nothing had changed. His heart now belonged to a world that had welcomed him, a world that needed him. "I want to stay," he said finally. "I want to help this world, guide its people, and learn from them. I don't want to leave now." The Empress smiled, a warmth in her eyes that made the city below seem even brighter. "Then the choice is yours," she said. "Stay not as a ruler, but as a companion, a guide, and a friend. Together, we will lead the Empire into a new age of harmony." Rian felt a calm certainty settle in his chest. "I will stay. I want to help in every way I can." The Empress extended her hand, and Rian took it. The moment their hands touched, a gentle light flowed from her into him and back again. He felt a connection to everything: the core, the city, the people, and even the winds that flowed across the towers. The energy was steady and warm, a living reminder that he was part of this world now. Over the next weeks, Rian began to learn the ways of the Lemurians more deeply. He walked through the city with the Empress, speaking to the citizens, learning about their culture, their technology, and their history. He discovered that their technology was powered not only by energy but also by emotion. When the people worked together in trust and care, their machines became stronger, faster, and more efficient. Rian helped redesign some of the old systems that had failed before. He adjusted energy flows, repaired power grids, and taught the engineers to combine logic with intuition. The results were remarkable. The core pulsed brighter each day, and the city began to hum with life in a way it had not in centuries. The Empress watched him with quiet admiration. "Your human nature is unlike anything our people have ever known," she said one day as they walked through a garden of floating flowers. "You think quickly, act with courage, and yet you feel deeply. You have reminded us what we lost long ago." Rian smiled, brushing his fingers against the petals of a luminous flower. "I am learning from you as much as you are learning from me. Your people have strength I could never have imagined." Then perhaps we were always meant to meet, she said softly. Despite the peace, Rian knew that challenges would come again. There were always those who could not accept change, those who clung to the old ways. He spent time training with the guards and the council, preparing for future threats. He studied the core, learning how it responded to emotion, energy, and thought. He realized that even small acts of kindness or courage could affect the heart. One evening, while walking through the city with the Empress, they noticed a group of children playing near a fountain of light. Their laughter echoed across the plaza. Rian knelt down, smiling, and waved at them. The children ran toward him, fascinated by his presence. He laughed as they tugged at his hands, showing him how they played simple games with floating energy spheres. The Empress watched quietly, a soft smile on her face. "You bring life to this world in ways that strength alone cannot," she said. Rian looked up at her. "I only do what comes naturally. But seeing them happy, seeing the city alive again, it feels like home." "Then you belong here," she said. Days later, the Empress summoned Rian to the core chamber. The sphere of energy pulsed gently, filling the hall with golden light. The Empress spoke to him seriously. "Rian, the council has agreed that you may stand beside me as the chosen mate. Not as a ruler, not as an intruder, but as one who will walk beside me, guiding this empire." Rian felt a mix of honor and responsibility. "Chosen mate?" he asked quietly. "I never expected this." "You did not expect it," she said, "because it is not meant for expectation. It is meant for understanding, trust, and mutual respect. You will not dominate or rule. You will bring balance and insight. The people will accept you because they see your heart, not your title." Rian nodded slowly. "I will do my best." The Empress stepped closer and placed her hand over his chest. He felt the core's energy flow into him, steady and calm. It was as if the heart itself had accepted him, acknowledging his courage, his compassion, and his spirit. "You are part of our world now, Rian," she said. "Your presence strengthens the heart. You give hope to the people. You are human, yet your spirit carries the wisdom of many generations. Together, we will guide this empire into a new era." Rian felt a deep warmth spread through him. He understood that he had become more than himself. He was now part of something larger, a bridge between two worlds. As the days passed, the city of Lumeris thrived. Citizens worked together in harmony, using their emotions to strengthen the core and power their technology. Markets and schools opened across the floating towers, and the laughter of children filled the air. Even the former rebels, guided by the Empress and Rian, began to understand the importance of unity. Rian continued to walk among the people, learning from them, teaching them, and guiding them. He worked with engineers to expand energy grids and with scholars to create learning centers. The core pulsed brighter with each passing day, a symbol of hope, balance, and trust at night. Rian and the Empress would walk through the floating gardens. The stars shone clearly above them, and the air was filled with soft music from the city. They spoke of history, dreams, and the future. Rian felt a connection he had never known, not just with her, but with the entire world around him. "You have done something no one thought possible," the Empress said one night. "You have reminded us that even a single being can change the course of history." Rian looked at the glowing flowers around them. "It was not just me. Your people trusted me, and I trusted them. And I trusted you." The Empress nodded, a gentle smile on her face. "Then together we have done more than either of us could alone." Months passed. The empire healed. The core of Lumeris shone like a sun, its energy flowing through every tower, street, and home. The citizens moved with confidence and hope, and the city became a symbol of resilience across the galaxy. Rian stood once more on the balcony of the palace, looking at the endless horizon of floating towers. He remembered the night he had first arrived, alone and confused. He remembered the fear, the trial, and the storm. And now he felt pride and belonging. He had grown stronger, not just in skill, but in spirit. The Empress approached him quietly. "Do you feel ready, Rian?" she asked. "For what?" He replied, "To guide this world with me," she said, "to lead our people, to protect the core, and to bring the future we have dreamed of." Rian smiled, taking her hand. "I am ready. I have never felt more ready in my life." The Empress placed her other hand on his shoulder. "Then let the era of harmony begin. Together, human and Lumerian, we will guide this empire into a new age. Your courage, compassion, and wisdom will lead the way." Rian felt the warmth of the core and the warmth of the Empress beside him. He realized that he had found a new home, a new purpose, and a new connection that stretched across the stars. The man who once went to bed alone on a quiet colony had awakened as the chosen mate of an alien empress. He had faced fear, chaos, and doubt, yet he had risen to the challenge. And now he stood not only as a hero, but as a bridge between worlds, a symbol of unity, hope, and the power of the human spirit. The people of Lumorus cheered from below, their voices rising in harmony with the core. The city shone brighter than ever, and the twin suns painted the sky with gold and light. Rian looked at the Empress and smiled. "We did it." "Yes," she said softly. "And now we will shape the future together." Hand in hand, they watched the city awaken to a new day. The empire was strong, the core was steady, and the path ahead was full of promise. Humanity had found its place among the stars, and Rian had found a home he would never leave.